Hey guys, my name is Brandon and welcome to or welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you like what you see in here, you're more than welcome to hit the subscribe button so you stay notified every time I upload a new video. Okay, let's get straight on with today's video. Hey everyone and welcome back to Is That More Brandon. So in today's video I'm going to be doing a review for the Traitors Series 3 2024 episode 9. So we found out from the previous episode either Lisa, Jake or Joe were going to get murdered by the Traitors. And Charlotte basically said to Mina that this is a risk, but it could cause chaos in the house. And Mina basically said another one bites the dust. So yeah, as difficult as it is for them to obviously take people out of the game, that's what they have to do. They have to take people out one by one. And we found out that after this person had been murdered, there were actually only 9 players left in the game. Freddie whispered to Charlotte that he thinks Leon is potentially a traitor, and potentially he said his next target is going to be Mina. Obviously Charlotte basically said here that, you know, that's vital information because somebody now thinks that Mina is a traitor, but she's not going to reveal that. She's going to keep the information to herself just in case, you know, Mina happens to try and think that Charlotte's the traitor. Charlotte can now basically say, well, hang on, there are actually other people that think you're the traitor, so she can try and get her before she gets her. Freddie basically said he felt like someone is compulsively lying in the game. Obviously the traitors are taking people out and they're lying in order to get further in the game. Leon basically said he's going to be looking at both Freddie and Francesca in terms of who he thinks are the traitors, and we found out that one of the 3 that hadn't come back from breakfast were Lisa, Jake and Leanne. They're the 3 that hadn't come back to breakfast. Charlotte said as a bit of a joke that she wants to see a red X go through that hideous photo of herself. Francesca asked Joe why the 2 of them and Charlotte were still all there, because obviously the 3 of them started getting a little bit close, so she's kind of just wondering, hang on, why are the 3 of us all still here? Freddie said that Lisa or Leanne is going to go, and Mina questioned, saying that she was actually a little bit scared for Leanne, thinking that Leanne was obviously not going to come back. We found out that Lisa was murdered, and obviously we had our final 9 contestants. From that previous evening, Mina and Charlotte were discussing, and Mina basically said, we're basically killing a priest, with Charlotte saying, Lord have mercy. And they basically agreed that Lisa was very polite, and Lisa, when she came out, said maybe it's a sign that they thought that she was a threat, the fact that they took her out of the game. Francesca also chimed in and said that she's sorry if she's misled anyone about Alex, because obviously Alex was a faithful, and she says her self-esteem is not always the highest, so she doubts herself in many situations. And having 4 sons, I guess she also has that judgment of having to kind of keep up with the sons and also taking care of herself. So I guess it's a bit of a difficult one. So obviously now having parked the sons and being just on her own, I feel like her confidence is going to just grow that little bit more. I feel like Frankie's one of those mysterious ones. Like, obviously she's a faithful, and she is coming across very faithful, but I guess she kind of needs to make sure she's not ending up in conversations that people potentially think she's a traitor. Because she's kind of sailed all the way through. Her name never brought up once. I think she's only been voted for like 2 or 3 times at round tables. So yeah, she's basically sailed all the way through to the final 9. She's one of those that has just floated. A bit like Joe as well, he's kind of floated through. Leanne, she's floated through without much, you know, people thinking it's them. So yeah, Francesca's basically a bit of a floater. Leanne said that there was a massive head against Francesca's name for her. She just isn't really sure about that whole Francesca situation. And Jake basically explained to everyone that he slept quite well last night because he obviously got the shield. And Claudia basically explained that the next mission was going to be called Head Count. And basically she went around, did a little head count, and she basically just said, yeah, everyone's here, so that's good. Leon said that for this mission he's going to fight fires and solve crimes and obviously work out who those traitors are. Charlotte and Alexander said that Frankie and Joe keep whispering about her, why the 3 of them still there. So again, Charlotte's also questioning, well, hang on, our little friendship group, why are we all still here? And Charlotte said that, you know, she's going to start sowing seeds about Mina, just because obviously she needs to get Mina before Mina gets her. And it's quite weird because Mina keeps saying how she trusts Charlotte, and Charlotte's obviously saying to Mina that she trusts Mina, but at the same time Charlotte also has those plans of she's got rid of 2 traitors out of the game already, hence why she's the only one left. I'm sure she's probably thinking, I wonder if she's going to come after me next, because obviously she's done that twice with the traitors. Charlotte said potentially traitors could be Leanne and Alexander. Leanne said that Charlotte was talking to both Leanne and Alexander, and Leanne said that potentially she has a name that she hasn't mentioned before, and I think Charlotte basically said, well, is it the same name that I'm thinking? And after 3, 2, 1 they shouted. So Charlotte said Mina, and Leanne said Francesca, so they both shouted completely different names. Alexander basically said he doesn't see Frankie or Francesca as a traitor, and then while they were playing their badminton or whatever, he ended up falling into a tree, so that was quite funny. Freddie was having a conversation with Francesca and Joe. I think Freddie said potentially he thinks the traitor could be Leon, and Joe said no way is it going to be Charlotte. Francesca again explained that she wasn't sure why her, Joe and Charlotte were all still in the house, with Freddie saying potentially Mina could be a traitor because obviously nobody's put eyes on her yet, and Joe said that he wouldn't be surprised if she actually is a traitor. Freddie obviously said something about the whole Mina situation, that Anna had kind of put that inkling of doubt in their heads about Mina, and obviously now Anna's out of the game, so is that because Mina's took her out of the game? Mina also explained that she wanted to get to the final with Charlotte, and she wanted to split that money with Charlotte, whereas obviously Charlotte has other ideas. In the mission, Freddie said that he needed a shield, and Mina explained that she was scared that she was going to end up getting murdered that evening. And basically what they had to do was build statues on the 5 plinths. So they had 5 bodies and 5 heads. So I think they had basically more. They had everyone's heads basically, but they could only make 5. And Claudia basically explained that they needed to have all 5 bodies and heads created in order for them to add another £10,000 to their prize pot. They had 45 minutes to do it, and one of the plinths had a shield. So basically it was up to them to decide who was going to put whose head on the shield and who wasn't going to get a shield. And yeah, straight away Freddie asked if he was able to get the shield, because obviously the 2 people that have come off of the boat in one of the previous challenges have actually already received a shield, and he's not actually got a shield as of yet. They couldn't really decide who was going to get a shield. They kind of said, we'll discuss that later, let's work out the torsos first. And Joe basically spoke to Francesca and Charlotte, saying someone's just going to put a random head on the shield, and that they should have discussed earlier, with Charlotte saying that Freddie definitely wants the shield. Freddie screamed saying, I'm going for that shield, with Leanne saying whether she holds herself back in this challenge or whether she just, goes full throttle, because she doesn't want to look like she's too good at the game, but then she doesn't want to look weak, that, if they get rid of her, she's not going to make much difference. Alexander and Freddie were having a discussion, with Alexander saying that him and Freddie are a good team, with Freddie saying that they're doing it for the small people. Jake was having a conversation with Alexander, explaining to him that he's got cerebral palsy, he struggles with his disability, but he's able to push through it, although he's got one side of his body that's a little bit weaker than the other side. And Alexander basically said that he was pleased that Jake could share that story with him. Freddie also explained to Francesca and Alexander, Freddie also basically explained that him, Francesca, Alex and Joe had not had a shield as of yet, with Leanne saying that in this game she's basically here for herself, so she actually grabbed her own head and started running up the hill. Charlotte noticed that Leanne was carrying her own head, and Francesca, Joe and Charlotte were all carrying up Joe's head. Jake and Freddie saw Alexander's head on the hill, and they basically said, nah, we're not going to take that, we don't really want Alexander getting immunity, so we'll just leave that as for now. Leon basically said that Alexander did 3 of the torsos and Leon did 2, so for them it was obviously quite tiring. They managed to, do quite a lot of the work in that challenge. And Joe was actually the first one who got a head to the top of the hill, and he said, I'm not deciding where I'm putting the head, because it's not fair for him to just say, I'm going to put Francesca as getting immunity or getting a shield, because I think he was carrying her head by this point. Leanne was basically told that she wasn't going to get the shield, and she was like, alright guys, well just please don't murder me tonight. Leon said he was putting Freddie's name up, and Joe basically questioned why Leon wanted to say Freddie when he previously said that he didn't trust Freddie. And I think at this point Leon obviously didn't hear who the options were. I think he just heard Francesca or Freddie, and he just went with Freddie. He didn't realise that it was actually between Freddie and Joe, whereas he actually trusted Joe. So yeah, that was a bit of a miscommunication there. So Freddie ended up getting the shield, and they managed to get all 5 torsos and bodies created, so an extra 10,000 that's added to the prize pot. And Freddie basically explained that they're getting closer towards the end of the game, so this was basically the best time for him to get a shield. Alexander said that he is still going to back Francesca. Charlotte said potentially Mina, and Freddie said that he was obviously unsure of her. Leanne said that she wanted to get the shield, but she also didn't want to be selfish, which is why she held back a little bit. And Francesca basically explained that Leanne could genuinely be a faithful, and that she just genuinely really wanted to save herself, or she's a traitor, and she obviously wanted to stop one of the faithfuls from getting a shield. Leon was having a conversation with both Leanne and Freddie, saying that everyone's being too nice and he needs to shake things up, asking Leanne why she actually brought her own head. And Leanne basically said, I wanted the shield really badly, that is purely the only reason why. Francesca was also talking to Joe and Charlotte, talking about the Leanne situation, that she brought up her own head. Leanne also joined the conversation because apparently someone said they were really angry with her that she did that. So she basically came into the room and said, is someone fuming with me because I literally took my own head up the hill? And Francesca said, no, it's not that we're angry, that's not what we said. We just said that we wouldn't have taken our own heads up the hill. And they asked who told her about this, and she basically said it was Leon that told me. So yeah, Joe basically said, yeah, well, there we go, there's Leon like shit stirring, and potentially trying to throw Francesca under the bus, with Francesca asking what was the point of repeating what she said in the car to Leon to Leanne, because now Leanne's gonna question Francesca and put fire on her. Jake was having a conversation with Joe, Leanne and Leon, saying that he was more swaying towards Francesca. She had a bit of an over-the-top reaction when Alex left. And he 100% thinks that Charlotte, Mina and Joe are faithfuls. So although Jake was right with Linda, he's not right with Charlotte and Mina. Not only because now Charlotte's changed over to a traitor, but he still thinks Mina's a faithful, and obviously she's not. Joe also questioned why Leon gave Freddie immunity, saying that he didn't trust him, and actually he then trusted Joe, with Leon saying, I actually didn't hear Joe's name, and I thought it was between Freddie and Francesca. So again, Leon doesn't really trust Francesca, because even if it was between Francesca and Freddie, he chose Freddie anyway. And he said, if I would have heard it was between Freddie and Joe, sorry Freddie, but I would have given my immunity to Joe. Freddie explained that Leon seemed to be showing another side of him, maybe potentially a traitor side, the fact that he's now acting a little bit too angry, or a little bit, you know, over the top, a little bit just distant from everyone else compared to previous in the game. Leanne said that the game is now much harder, but she potentially thinks there's at least 2 traitors. Leon said that his name's definitely going to be in the frame, and he just wants to catch the traitors. And Mina said that enough people seem to trust and back her as a faithful, so she thinks that she'll be alright through this next round table. And Claudia revealed that the prize pot at the moment was £58,500, and that after tonight's episode, there's only going to be 2 more round tables. Not sure how many murders, but at least and just 2 more round tables, and then we were obviously going to probably get to the final with at least 4 or 5 people. Leon decided to start the round tables off, saying that he wasn't sure about the vote for Joe at the challenge, basically saying he thought it was between Francesca and Freddie, and if it was between Freddie and Joe, he would have absolutely voted for Joe just because he didn't trust the other 2. Francesca said that, well, Leon also asked Francesca why she doesn't vote for the traitors, why she's, you know, voting for innocent faithfuls to get them out of the game. And Francesca said, the reason I don't vote for the traitors is because, like everyone else, I don't know who the traitors are. And she said that she was so close to Alex that she's only voted for him because of some of the evidence that's been brought up. She wasn't trying to take out a fellow faithful, she just, with the evidence she was provided and his little slip up in the kitchen, that he potentially could have been a traitor. And Leanne also added whether Francesca's just been going under the radar. Francesca also explained about the comment in the Jeep, the fact that her comment to Leon happened to get back to Leanne, that she wanted the shield so badly, questioning why Leon had to actually repeat that. And Freddie also said that Leon's been banging on about the whole Linda bandwagon, and also she was a traitor as well. So the fact that he didn't trust Linda, or did trust Linda, but just kept talking about Linda, it was almost like he was trying to like protect himself by trying to take somebody else out of the game. Leon also explained that Jake and Charlotte had the highest ratings in his books. Francesca is the direction that he's going in terms of who he thinks is the traitor. Jake also said that when he was having his conversation with Francesca, similarly to when he was having a conversation with Linda, he was looking at the eye contact to work out whether she was a traitor or not. And with the conversation he had with Francesca, he felt like, having looked in her eyes, she was kind of giving off traitor vibes. So again, Francesca's kind of under fire here. She's got people accusing her of saying things in the car. The fact that, you know, she's protecting someone who shouldn't be protected. You know, Leanne's going to probably be a little bit angry with her. The fact that she said something about Leanne, which actually shouldn't have got back to her in the first place. And now Jake saying that his conversation with her with her eyes, doesn't seem like she's faithful. Francesca said, well, actually, Jake is the first person who's come to have a one-to-one with her and has actually accused her face-to-face of being a traitor, so that's probably why she looked a bit confused and concerned. And she also is now starting to look at people who she thinks is a faithful, who potentially actually could be a traitor, such as Charlotte and Joe. And then Charlotte jumped in saying, well, actually, Francesca and Joe haven't actually hung around each other in almost a week, and she's kind of torn between Leon and Alexander. Alexander explained that he carried 3 torsos up the hill and he was genuinely tired, and he wanted to give the shield to someone who hadn't had it before, i.e. someone like Freddie. And he strongly believes that Frankie's a faithful, and also said that, Joe, I don't think you're a traitor either. Leanne says she was potentially thinking about Francesca before, and now she's a little bit confused. Her head is basically all over the place. And Francesca said that she's the most faithful, and potentially also the most faithful could be a traitor, i.e. somebody like Jake, with Freddie jumping in questioning, well, hang on, who's keeping Jake here? The fact that, you know, he saved some of the faithful previously, and then he got Linda as a traitor, and he's obviously now received a shield, so they could have banished him at one of the other tables. Who is keeping Jake in the game as well? There's almost like so many different groups and so many different social circles. It's like, hang on, why are all these individuals still in the game when they've all jumped into different conversations, some of which with traitors unknowingly, and some of which they're too good at the game that you would have thought the traitors would have tried to get them out by now, or at least point a finger at them at the round table, but no, they're still in the game. Francesca also brought up Mina's name, saying that, you know, she always has to look at people that haven't had anything mentioned about them, and she said that Anna had actually previously brought up Mina's name, and obviously now Anna is not in the game anymore. And she also said that Mina isn't really as vocal as some of the other players. Mina said that she did speak up when obviously Armani and Linda were found out to be traitors. She was in tears when Dan left the table, and she also spoke up about Charlotte as an example, when she said that she was relaxed in one of the challenges in one of the games. Freddie also added, jumping in, saying, I think Mina is in my unsure category, with Mina saying that she's had good conversations with him, and again she's a bit unsure as to why Freddie thinks now that she is a traitor. And Freddie said that, yeah, Leanne, Jake, Joe, all faithful, but he's just a little bit unsure about Mina. Anyway, when it came to the votes, obviously there's a lot less of them left, but Charlotte voted for Leon, Jake voted for Francesca, Alexander voted for Leon, Mina, Leanne and Leon all voted for Francesca, and then Francesca, Joe and Freddie all voted for Leon, which meant that Leon was banished. Leon also revealed that he was a faithful. Jake said, that's a good faithful gone. Leanne was obviously in tears, saying, I'm gutted. And Mina looked straight over at Leanne and said, well, you didn't write his name down. It's almost like you are not the one that put him out of the game, so you can't blame yourself. With also Mina having also voted Francesca, she could also be in the clear, in the green. It's almost like Mina didn't vote for him to go out because she knew enough people were going to vote him out anyway. And then we found out that the players were going to be having a party, and again, obviously 8 players left. Leanne said she wasn't really in party mood. How am I able to drink with people that have obviously lied to my face? Leanne was speaking to Mina, saying potentially the traitors could be Joe or Freddie, and Freddie said to Joe that the traitor definitely has to be Mina. So I think Freddie's got Joe on side, Leanne has obviously got Mina on side, but then are they going to try and get one of the boys out before one of the boys get them out, or, you know, is Charlotte going to pull something out about Mina? So I'm not really sure who's going to pull out what sword first, but again, it's all just a matter of whoever pulls out the gun first, basically, is going to end up shooting the other players. Francesca, Jake and Alexander were all having a chat, saying that there has to be more names, and basically Francesca was talking to Jake, saying, look, we seem to be missing something major here. There's someone or people, one person or 2 people, or even 3 people that are messing us around. We are missing something so important in this game. Mina explained that surviving at round table is almost like surviving 3 rounds of a boxing match. Jake said his worst moment in the game was obviously the boat challenge, and his best moment was obviously meeting Linda. And I think this is when they all started the 8 of them started eating their food, having their drink. They're sitting in this nice little ballroom. I think it's the same breakfast room that they sit in the morning, but they turned it into a little dining room with obviously all the paintings of their faces on the board. So they were all basically talking about what their best and worst moments of the game were, what they're looking forward to after the game, what they want to spend the money on. So it's kind of just a bit of a highlight of all of those. Charlotte said that in terms of the money can't buy the experience, but if she does go on to win the money, she'll get a safari holiday for her family. and also sort out her baby troubles, with Leanne saying, "I love you, Charlotte." Freddie said that he currently lives at home with his mum. He'd get a holiday for her, and obviously he'd have to self-fund himself for law school, so he'd put money towards that. Jake said he'd give back to his parents, something like a holiday, and obviously his wife and himself both want to make some changes in their house, so they'll probably do something for that as well. Mina explained she got married during the pandemic and obviously therefore had no honeymoon, so she wants to do a honeymoon and potentially a road trip across Europe. Leanne says she wants to have another baby. I think her partner was called Sophie, and obviously IVF treatment is not cheap, so she'd probably pay for that. She also admitted to having a failed pregnancy. And then Francesca basically said that, Leanne looks like a blonde Barbie girl, but she is absolutely made of steel. She said if she wins, she would do it for her boys. And since she's just 30 years old, she's been a single mum. She'd also help send one of her sons to university and then help the younger ones just grow up in life. Alexander said that he had a brother who had growth development issues and autism, so he would give money to that special needs charity in order to keep that going. He also lost his brother at 17, so it's kind of, put the money to a good cause and also know that, life will go on and he can hopefully, do something good for his brother later on in life. And Joe basically said that, they will have noble reasons for winning the money. He basically just wants to buy a house and travel. And he said if it doesn't work out being a teacher, he wants to potentially run a pub. And if any traitors come in, he'll tell them to get out of his pub. We found out that the traitors had another decision to make. They were either able to recruit a third, so for Mina, Charlotte, and another, or they could just kill another person in the game. And remember, there's 8 people in the game, so if you get another traitor, that's 3 traitors against 5 faithful. Whereas if you kill, you will only have 5 faithful left, 2 traitors, so you've actually taken somebody out of the game. Mina explained this is the hardest part of the game for her, just purely because her name's kind of being thrown around a little bit, and she basically said to Charlotte, we need to decide whether we're seducing or killing. Charlotte basically said at this point of the game, they need to keep the numbers whittling down, and Mina said that Freddie's got the shield, so obviously there's no point in them killing him, because then no one's going to be dead at breakfast, because actually Charlotte forgot about that. So they basically decided that Jake, Joe or Leanne were going to get murdered, with Charlotte saying that Joe seems to be set on Alexander and he's not swayed. Whoever they get rid of is the loud voice of their group and fingers shouldn't be pointed in their direction, with Mina saying that this person is a good traitor finder, which is why they need to go. And Charlotte said that she thinks her and Mina can get to the final, but she said she doesn't trust Mina and Mina shouldn't trust her either, with Mina saying with a smile on her face that she can trust Charlotte. And Claudia, we saw a little hint of the next episode with them sitting at the round table. She basically said one of you can win a superpower that can change the entire game. So I don't know whether that's for someone to be able to work out who traitors and faithfuls are, or they get a secret spare vote, or they get to meet one of the traitors or whatever. I'm not 100% sure what happens, but that is where the episode ends, and obviously we found out we have our 8 people left. So yeah, basically we have Charlotte and Mina, who are the 2 traitors. I think Charlotte is really, really good. I think not only is she putting on that Welsh accent, but she's also quite quiet and quite bubbly, and she has to act the same as the beginning. She just happens to have changed sides. And again, Mina, I think she's really good. I just think she needs to talk a bit more at the round tables, because I feel like the fact that she is so quiet, people are obviously thinking that she's kind of just floating through the game. You've obviously got Jake. So he obviously worked out that Linda was a traitor. He's also very good, the fact that, he's very open and very vocal with who he thinks the traitors are, rather than just, keeping himself quiet. Alexander, obviously the newest person of the game. He was one of the first ones out of the game, and then he got reincarnated back into the game. And yeah, obviously he is a faithful, but he's coming across a little bit too intellectual, where people potentially think he's trying to talk himself out of people thinking he's a traitor. So he's got to be careful. I don't think he'll make the final, but he could make at least the next round table. But I think people are over-analysing him a little bit too much, and whether they believe he's a faithful or not, they just think that he's just probably a bit too much. Obviously Leanne, again, it's not that she's not talking much, she's more observing. She's kind of just waiting for people to accuse her, to then deflect off of that, rather than say, I'm not a traitor, but here's who I think. Francesca, again, I think she sailed through to the final 8, to be fair, but I think now she's had a lot of people digging at her for potentially being a traitor. I think she needs to speak up for herself, otherwise, she will end up knocking herself out of the game. Joe kind of has seemed to have been one of the front runners from the beginning. I'm surprised they haven't murdered Joe. but potentially they could have murdered Joe, because obviously Jake, Joe or Leanne are going, so I'm surprised they haven't murdered Joe as of yet, but I wouldn't be surprised if they murder him in the next episode. And then obviously Freddie, he's had his fair few shares of accusations at the beginning, where they thought he was a traitor and they thought he was acting a bit weird, and then the whole Maya situation, where he said, oh, I don't want them to all win a shield because then it's unfair on us, when actually he meant that he wanted it to be a playing field for everyone. So that whole situation, and then it's kind of just disappeared. He doesn't feel scared and worried anymore. Yeah, he's kind of just been floating a little bit again recently. So yeah, they are your 8. So Charlotte, Mina, Jake, Alexander, Leanne, Francesca, Joe and Freddie. So yeah, we know that Jake, Joe or Leanne is going to get murdered next. I think if the girls are sensible, they would get rid of Joe, because they've said that this person is a good traitor finder, which makes me think that they've murdered Jake, because he's the only one that's found the traitor, i.e. Linda. But potentially they could get rid of Joe, because he seems to have been the leader of the group. But then also Leanne, she's not really speaking much, and people still have their doubts around her, so actually there's not really much point killing her. Keep her in, get rid of one of the boys who seems to be overanalyzing. So yeah, I think they'll get rid of Jake or Joe. I'm thinking just based on that comment they'll have got rid of Jake, because Mina said a good traitor finder. So Joe hasn't actually found a traitor, he's just kind of helped. If anything, he's found more faithfuls that he thinks are traitors. So I think they'll have probably murdered Jake, which would be quite a shame, because yeah, like I said, young guy, he's done very, very well, but maybe his time is over. But that is it for episode 9. So if you did enjoy my review, don't forget to like, comment, share and subscribe. And until my next review, thank you for watching and goodbye.